Ladies and gentlemen, it's very interesting. John Durham, and I explained this in a segment prior to this one on this channel. And by the way, check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. Great, you could say documentary on the Bill of Rights. H.A. Goodman's other channel, the segment is actually below in the pinned comment right before the NPR article that quotes me in 2015, accurately predicting the 2016 election. Now, it's very interesting. They want John Durham to resign, recuse himself. They want John Durham out of the picture. Why? Here's the New York Times article. New York Times, Durham surprises even allies with statement on FBI's Trump case. Durham basically said, as did William Barr, we don't believe we have evidence that refutes the Inspector General report statement claiming that there was no institutional bias, no documentary or testimonial evidence of institutional bias. Well, of course, there were text messages. You're not going to get people to say, we wanted to set up and frame Trump. But there were text messages from FBI officials who said, we'll stop Trump, vive la résistance, all of these things, okay, anti-Trump text messages. But in addition to that, you had 17 deliberate attempts at falsifying evidence, inaccuracies, omissions, just false statements given to FISA judges to deceive them into investigating Carter Page. 17 inaccuracies. But here, Durham surprises even allies with statement on FBI's Trump case. And then it goes on. You got to listen to this. You have to listen to this because this is the height of narcissism. You have to understand that the people who are going after Durham and William Barr and the people who have gone after Trump, these are the most narcissistic, egotistical people. You couldn't even create the type of individuals. Okay, narcissism. Let's just look really quick. The pursuit of gratification for vanity or egotistic admirations of one idealized self-image and attributes. This includes self-flattery, perfectionism, and arrogance. Okay, so, and then it goes on to, let's see, narcissistic personality disorder is basically Democrats. Democrats embody this. They think extremely highly of themselves. They think they're these lofty vanguards of everything moral and just and impartial. Meanwhile, they cheat Bernie Sanders. They set up and frame Trump. They blame Russia for their failures. We can go on and on. They think that Trump tried to interfere in the next election because Biden is so corrupt and perhaps engaged in criminal wrongdoing that Trump had the audacity to ask for an investigation, so that means he's withholding military assistance. Has nothing to do with the corruption that actually Biden cites for firing a prosecutor in the Ukraine. Anyway, these people, what's good for them is never good for Trump. You never had Attorney General Loretta Lynch recuse herself. You never had, even after the meeting with Bill Clinton to speak about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren. But here, Durham surprises even allies with statement on FBI's Trump case. Yeah, he surprised allies. Great. He stated that the IG was wrong. Oh my goodness. The ego, the narcissism, the self-centered, how dare John Durham say anything that could contradict the official narrative? My God. We are so pure as the driven snow after cheating Bernie Sanders and funneling $200+ million of money from his voters into DNC accounts and blaming Russia and fabricating and accusing Trump of working with Russia to hack Facebook to buy Facebook ads and hack the DNC, which forced Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign. We can go on forever. Clinton owns private servers with top secret intelligence on them. If Trump owned a private server, could you imagine? They would put their thinking caps on and say, and basically be me. They would all become me. But anyway, the federal prosecutor leading a review of the origins of the Russia inquiry has a reputation for keeping his mouth shut. At a sensitive moment, he didn't. This is the New York Times. This is not an opinion article, by the way. This is the actual, this is like how they report. This is the reporting. This is not like, the opinion section. This is this is not considered, anything to do with being a pundit. Washington, whether investigating charges, rolling up an organized crime network or prosecuting crooked government officials, John H. Durham, the veteran federal prosecutor named by Attorney General William P. Barr to investigate the origins of the Russia inquiry, burnished his reputation for impartiality over the years by keeping his mouth shut, his mouth closed. By keeping his mouth closed about his work. At the height of the Boston mob prosecution that made his name, he not only rebuffed a local newspaper's interview request, but he also told his office not to release his resume or photo. Don't you love how they got their special counsel? It didn't work. They got Strzok and McCabe and Comey to set up and fabricate, FISA applications to go after Carter Page on a dossier that said Trump enjoyed showers from bodily fluids. Oh, they got everything they wanted. It still didn't work. They're trying to impeach Trump. They're going to impeach. They've already impeached him. Well, technically, no. The articles of impeachment haven't gone to the Senate, but they're going to impeach him again, and it's still, they can't touch. And then you got Stormy, and then you got Eric Schneiderman and Avenatti and Jussi Smollett and all of these people, and Al Franken, and everyone bites the dust when you go up against Trump, Michael Cohen, all of these people. Oh my God, it never ends. It never ends. He's on a winning streak. Not seen since USC or the Miami Hurricanes or whatever. This is a winning streak that just doesn't. They can't touch him, and they throw everything they have at him. And my God Almighty, can you believe that John Durham had the audacity? Can you believe he had the audacity to say that based on the evidence there, quote, based on the evidence collected to date and while our investigation is ongoing, last month we advised the Inspector General that we do not agree with some of the report's conclusions as to the predication of how the FBI case was opened. My God Almighty, how dare John Durham open his big mouth? He kept his mouth shut when he was prosecuting and putting, FBI officials into the big house in Boston, but he won't keep his mouth shut now. We need to remove him. The wall of silence cracked this month when the wall of silence. Look at this. They paint this fantasy. No, he's speaking out because it's a bunch of nonsense. He knows he's not playing ball. When they say, the Senate has to be impartial, and, the jurors, they're supposed to be, the Republicans are supposed to be impartial. Impartiality in this case means exonerating Trump. Okay, if you look up in the sky and there's a trial that says, you know what, this person is on trial for saying the sky was blue. And if the sky is blue, you can acquit him. If the sky is not blue, then you have to, he goes to the, throw him into the oubliette or whatever. Oh, the sky's blue. Okay, well, I guess but before the trial, yeah, you're not impartial. You're partial. You're partisan. Because it's nonsense. You're going into, if you're a juror and you have any functioning brain cell, you already know how you're going to vote, or you're leaning towards. Being impartial doesn't mean you listen to a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of malarkey, so to speak, like Joe Biden, and just agree with Democrats and their ranting and raving and rambling and nonsense. So they're like, oh my God, McConnell's going to coordinate with the White House. So what? The House was not impartial. Adam Schiff was not impartial. Nancy Pelosi's not impartial. Chuck Schumer isn't. And there's not one Democrat who's, well, there's not one. This is all politics. So there's no such thing as impartiality when it comes to something that is so political, there's not even a crime. Trump has not committed an actual crime. If there was a break-in, fine, you can discuss that. Trump could be wrong. If there was a break-in like Watergate and he covered it up, okay. But this is an absolute fabrication, and they went after him, and now there's a criminal probe of Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, Kleinsmith, all of them. But here, I digress. Okay. Mr. Horowitz found that the FBI acted appropriately in opening the inquiry. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. This is how the New York Times and Tim Pool and Styx Exenhammer both talk about this. They're both brilliant. And this is the case. The New York Times and other publications, the Washington Post and media, what they'll do is they will make a statement, a categorical statement that is simply not true. Mr. Horowitz did not find that the FBI acted appropriately in opening the inquiry in 2016. No, he didn't. He found no documentary or testimonial evidence to show that there was institutional bias against Trump. Very different. Very different from saying that they had acted appropriately. There's nothing appropriate about this. There were 17 inaccuracies, 17, not just inaccuracies, absolute deliberate attempts. And so you have a situation, how do I explain this, where when you have deliberate attempts at trying to undermine and fabricate and set up, you have deliberate attempts at trying to go after Trump. At the end of the day, we all know what's taking place. It wasn't an appropriate investigation because the Clinton campaign purchased a dossier that said Trump enjoys salacious activities. This was a dossier that nothing has been proven from. Nobody was indicted from. And the Mueller, the 3-year Mueller episode and the investigation prior to Mueller was so weak and inept. And just an overt, transparent attempt at corruption and undermining the Constitution and undermining the fabric of this country, which is what Democrats pretend they're upholding, that the latest articles of impeachment didn't even bring them up. That's why they're going to impeach Trump again. Please, God, please get Nancy Pelosi to impeach Trump again. I mean, Mitch McConnell is probably begging, Lord, Nancy, I'm going to go ahead and pray to the Lord Almighty to have you impeach the president again. Because, Nancy, God can only be so good to us. My goodness, my prayers have been answered. If you impeach the president again, it's going to make us look so good. It's going to make the president look good, and it's going to make you into the bullies. Even people in Hollywood, even though they won't talk about it, will say that you have become the embodiment of bullying. I can't. I'm messing up. I just don't feel it anymore. Anyway, Mitch McConnell out. Hold on, Nancy. Are you going to send us the articles of impeachment? Or are you just going to hold on to them until the dinosaurs come home? I don't feel it. But anyway, they're going to impeach Trump again because the first impeachment was so weak and devoid of any criminal act. Then they're going to go back and say, well, Trump maybe lied to the grand jury. I don't know. With Mueller, they're going to bring up Mueller again because it's like Pavlov's dog. Like, Democrats salivate when they hear Mueller. Mueller, oh my God. It's like they are buzzwords that really get Democrats going. Mueller is one of them. The rest of the country doesn't care anymore, actually. It's all debunked and absurd and Ridiculous. Everybody knows that Trump didn't work. But with Russia to hack the DNC to inform the country that Bernie was cheated. Notice how they cloak all of their misconduct and corruption and criminal activity within, they cloak it within accusations of Trump. We didn't cheat Bernie Sanders. Those were embarrassing emails that were disclosed by the Russians. Yeah, because that would help Trump, and they were afraid of Clinton. You mean that you didn't cheat Bernie Sanders? Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign because the DNC emails showed immense corruption. No. The Russians were scared of Hillary. Yeah, that's the ticket. And then they believe it. You mean that Biden and his son, when he's smoking narcotics in interesting places, you mean that he's getting millions from Burisma and he doesn't even have a background in energy? You mean that there's a prosecutor that was fired looking into the corporation that gave Hunter millions? You mean that that Biden had no conflicts of interest and shouldn't be investigated? Of course not. Trump withheld military assistance because he was interfering in the next election. It had nothing to do with Biden. Biden is pure as the driven snow. These people are the biggest narcissists in the world. The ego, Mount Everest is nothing compared to that ego. They believe that they can engage in dirty, underhanded, shady tactics, but if Trump just lives and breathes and does what he needs to do as president, oh my God, you must be up to something. And based on evidence collected to date, and while our investigation is ongoing, last month we advised the Inspector General that we do not agree with some of the report's conclusions as to the predication of how the FBI case was opened. Durham is saying he doesn't agree with it because he found evidence based on the evidence collected to date. Another news story that they had that wasn't accurate. Another news story because they kept on saying William Barr's handpicked prosecutor found nothing. These are advocates. The New York Times and the Washington Post, they're all wearing this shirt. How many people in the New York Times lunch, if they have a cafeteria, you think that someone's walking in with a MAGA hat? No. That person would be fired immediately. Are you kidding me? These journalists are activists in their 30s and 40s. And their formative years were the 8 years of President Obama's administration. And their view of justice and morality and politics was forged by Clinton and President Obama. So you do the math on that one. They see Trump as like, oh my God, they see Trump as somebody who makes them love people like Comey and Strzok and McCabe and Clapper and Brennan. So they pick and choose. They're like those religious people of every religion. It doesn't matter what religion you are. They pick and choose. You see them doing something they're not supposed to do, but then they pretend to be super religious. That's the Democrats. Democrats love government, except when it's the Oval Office and the executive branch. But they love the government when it's the House. Well, now they love the House. They didn't like Congress before. They didn't like the House before. But they love it now, and they love the intelligence agencies, except when the FBI was told to go back in time to the hot tub time machine to investigate Kavanaugh. But that was, but they didn't go back in time. You can't go back in time to a place that, without a time, location, witnesses. So they said, oh, yeah, the FBI dropped the ball on that. It's like, well... Anything that doesn't work out for them, they disparage. If it works out for them, Comey, he's a Boy Scout, he's fantastic. But here, they already interviewed Joseph Mifsud, Italian intelligence officials, British intelligence officials. They've already been around the globe. William Barr and John Durham have all the evidence they need. They're very likely going to stretch it out until past the election. They're not going to interfere. Anything that happens is going to be interference. So once Clinton loses again, and Clinton's going to be the nominee. People, 100%. Clinton will be the nominee. They're not going with Biden. Biden has zero influence and zero pull in the Democratic Party. And impeachment serves Clinton's interests because the Democrats and media can say, well, he's going after Biden. He's so afraid of Biden. Trump is not afraid of Biden. Nobody is. And not even Cornflakes. Cornflakes is back. He's like, you want some? He's not even afraid. So nobody's afraid of the No Malarkey bus tour. But give me your thoughts below. They want Durham to resign based on this. Because William Barr said an intrusive investigation of U.S. presidential campaign based on the thinnest of suspicions. And then Barr said, based on the evidence. Based on the evidence collected to date, and while our investigation is ongoing, last month we advised the Inspector General that we do not agree with some of the report's conclusions as to the predication of how the FBI case was opened. Game, set, match. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. It's in the pinned comment below. A great celebration of the Bill of Rights. Thank you so very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I want you to have a Happy New Year. And thank you so very much for watching H.A. Goodman and H.A. Goodman's other channel.